unbridled honesty here on the podium. It's always a privilege to drive around here in a Formula 1 car, and these guys really happy. We've got one happy driver here at least. Good stuff. And we're back in Canada in a couple of weeks' time. Please do join us for hopefully another incredible race like that.
Welcome to you all at home.
You've still got a chance to win this race, haven't you?
Just try. I wanna be the only one to make it through the light.
Hey guys, Dre here, back at once going to a brand new video for you, and welcome to a new episode of Dre TV. Sorry for the hold up on this one. Actually, this webcam I'm using, this Logitech HD webcam C270, it actually broke a couple of days ago, unfortunately. When I was going to record this episode, luckily I managed to fix it and fix the drivers so it's working again now. So, luckily that's all well and good and sorted out now. So, apologies for the delay on this one. I promised it would be one episode a week. Fortunately, it didn't quite work out that way, but these things happen every now and again. But there you go. In this episode, I wanted to talk about Sebastian Vettel. And it's kind of, I know, I bet you're already laughing behind this video right now, saying, oh, Drake talking about Vettel. Ugh, it's going to be such a home run post. Relax. Just hear me out on this one, okay? If anything, I think it's quite an interesting topic that's worth talking about. I'd like to think, or I've noticed, that Sebastian Vettel has kind of adopted that Fernando Alonso role from maybe 2 or 3 years ago as more of a people's champion now. And with the recent drama of MotoGP and the season finishing over there, kicking interest as Lorenzo won his 3rd MotoGP world title ahead of Valentino Rossi, and Valentino being declared as the people's champion. I thought I'd talk about Sebastian Vettel and how that's had an effect on him too, because I think a lot more people have warmed to Sebastian this season. I say this because I look at my Ask FM inbox a lot. You know, obviously I've answered over 12,000 questions over there, and one of the big things I keep hearing people tell me is that, oh, something along the lines of, well, I used to hate Sebastian Vettel, but now I quite like him since he's gone to Ferrari, or, you know, comments around that kind of discussion, like how, you know, Vettel has seemed to have warmed up to people, basically. It's interesting because, you know, he has, I think, been very entertaining this season, you know, in terms of being a bit more laid back, being a bit more outgoing, and I think in general being a bit more, you know, jokey with, because I think if there's one thing I noticed, there was a video that was doing the rounds last week. It was a video of Sebastian Vettel trolling the Mercedes drivers in press conferences, because he's done it quite a lot this season, you may have noticed. Here's a couple of clips from that, by the way.
Everything perfect, no problems at all.
Were you low again?
Huh?
Were you low again? I'm joking. You can laugh as well, it was a joke, come on, I mean.
It's the same as you just said. Thank you.
Make sure you take both of you out so I can go through. Yes? No? Try.
Sebastian, obviously you know a bit.
Did you start waving 5 laps to go?
I didn't.
No, Mansell was the one who
that's like you didn't normally
started waving the last lap.
You used to do that.
You topped him by doing it 5 laps to the end.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
You obviously know the feeling, Sebastian. You've had it many times at the front.
You gotta wave.
Excellent.
I know you're waiting. You just told me that you're waiting for the girls to come over with you, the Radisson Hotel, room number 7 or 8. But I think they've been standing all day, so I think they can sit down. No, I think you're free. Feel free to sit down.
See what I mean? He's been very entertaining in just ripping the Mercedes drivers, or just gently poking fun at them all season long when he's sat there as the best of the rest, so to speak. You know, he's had a few wisecracks at guys like Rosberg before, basically, as the two Germans have fought for 2nd place as well this season. Now, a lot of people have said that they've watched that and they thought, oh yeah, Vettel's one of the best characters in the sport now. He's a great guy. He's got great personality, etc. And you know, he's really great. F1 needs more guys like him, etc. Which I think is quite interesting, because I'd like to make the argument that Sebastian's always been this way. I don't think this is a new thing with Seb. Like, here's a couple of clips from him from his Red Bull days.
Was that a promise?
That is a promise, yes.
I
don't
well?
pick it.
I'm there as well.
Really? Would you put that
red dress again with that really...
Okay, it's time to go, ladies and gentlemen. Sebastian, thank you very much. Let's go and see who we can
explain
find.
what's going on in Red Bull at the moment, Christian.
Well, David, obviously having reached the ripe old age of 40, is about to be presented with a cake. What he doesn't know is that he's about to wear it.
And there he goes.
There you go. So,
we wonder now, dear. I tell you what, if there's one man who doesn't want to spend Sunday evening covered in cake, it's David Coulthard. That's not his sort of thing, is it?
definitely not, but wearing a pink shirt like that, what does he expect? And,
You're very mean. Come on, that's no way
why
to
do you
behave.
think I'm speaking with you and not in there with him? Because that was always going to happen.
Right now, just moments after having had cake put in his face from Sebastian Vettel, he's going to chat to Seb for us, who won today's Grand Prix. David,
yes.
I'm afraid to say that we knew that was going to happen. We should have warned you.
Thanks very much, guys, for telling me I was going to get chocolate cake all
You
over
look
my face.
great, though.
Get one thing clear, this is not chocolate here.
This is his new makeup.
It tastes quite good, actually. Is it something you brought from your farm?
It's your birthday today, so I know if you get older, some things you just can't hold them anymore, so...
Well...
Seb, once again, starting on pole.
14, remember.
What are you talking about? Okay. So once again, starting on pole, the wet weather didn't quite close things up as expected, but you must be delighted with the way things went yesterday.
We're just holding my hand there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just holding on, I was holding on.
I have a girlfriend, you know. For how many years?
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to Formula One.
Back off.
You see what I'm getting at? Like, this whole Vettel being outgoing and quite jokey isn't a new thing. It isn't. Like, when he was wearing purple, he was like this too. And it's just maybe people have drawn more awareness to it, given the sport's more popular now than it was back then. Maybe it's... it could be a lot of different factors. I'm going to explain a bit more about that now in this video. And, you know, I've shown a couple of examples of Vettel being funny in both purple and in red, funnily enough. It's amazing how these things turn out. But why has it changed? Why all of a sudden has things changed? Why is it now a situation where Vettel is liked a lot more than he was 2 years ago? Because, let's go back, I mean, it was just 2 years ago that Vettel won 13 races in a season, completely dominated the 2013 season, and people literally couldn't stand him. You know, he was booed at, 10 races that season. Multi-21 was a factor in that. And it's interesting because, I think that could be a factor. Multi-21 was definitely something that changed the people's perception of Vettel. I think Multi-21, and I think part of that is because Mark Webber was so well liked. Like, it's not like Rosberg is now where everybody wants to nitpick and criticise him. I think now it's a situation more like Mark Webber. Do you remember when Red Bull had the best car in 2013? And how many races did Mark Webber win that season? 0. Compared to Rosberg's 5. But did we all bash Webber back then? We didn't. We were all quite sympathetic towards him. We all seemed to quite like him. The public perception I got of Mark Webber was that he was much more well-liked than Nico Rosberg is. And he wasn't criticised as much as Rosberg is now to Hamilton as compared to Webber and Vettel. And I think part of that is because he was Australian, was because he was honest, because he was probably a bit more likeable to many other people. And that's fine. Everyone's entitled to think, have that way of thinking, so to speak. But I do think it was quite interesting that Webber, who was never really criticised and was often looked at as a more sympathetic, more understanding kind of role, compared to Vettel, who was basically this master of the dark arts. I mean, he got the nickname Darth Vettel during 2013 for breaking team orders. Now, it's interesting that in its own right when you consider that you don't like. I just find it a little bit weird how. You can criticise team orders as a concept in general, and most fans don't like team orders, but at the same time they criticise the guy who breaks that mentality. It's like a bit like having your cake and eating it too. It doesn't really work in that regard, in my opinion, but, that could be one factor that goes into it. The Tifosi is a big factor in this as well. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from Italy, and I mentioned this during the Italian Grand Prix where Vettel finished second, and I said to people, why is Vettel getting cheered now? Because 2 years ago, Vettel was booed by the Tifosi on the podium, quite heavily, as a matter of fact, just for doing his job properly. And now people are cheering him. And I had a couple of really hardcore Italian or Ferrari fans try and tweet me by saying, "Oh, we're the Tifosi, we just cheer the car, we don't cheer the driver. We don't really care who's in the car. We just cheer the team and we cheer the driver, and that's how we do things around here. To which my response was, okay, that's fine. I totally understand that way of thinking, but at the same time, if you were booing a driver 2 years ago and you're cheering him now purely because of the car he's in, you don't find that just a little bit weird? Like, at all? No? I just find it a little bit weird how, I'm sure, yeah, you can back a team as opposed to backing drivers. That's absolutely fine. F1 is one of the most flexible sports in the world. Fan support, I'd argue. It's not like in football. You can't support Manchester United and Manchester City. Like, in F1, you can support multiple drivers and teams and probably not get judged for it. So it's a very rare sport in that regard. But at the same time, sure, you can cheer the car, but you don't find that just a little bit weird that you're booing a guy that, or cheering a guy that you booed 2 years ago? I just find that a little bit weird, but again, that could be an element in it because, Ferrari is the most popular team in the paddock. Ferrari have the Tifosi, they have arguably the most passionate fans of any F1 team out there, and, that could be a factor as well. The public perception of Red Bull might be a factor as well, in how Red Bull probably isn't as well liked as it used to be, because Red Bull used to be the fancy, entertaining team that was spending all this money doing promotional stunts and things like that, and now they're more known for being the engine moaners. The moaners that, don't like it when engines aren't going their way, and they want teams to help them out, and they've moaned a lot about that all year long, and it's not really worked out for them, so maybe people are turning on Red Bull, and as a result, praising Vettel on the other end. The biggest reason for me, personally, in my opinion, is the element of winning in sport in general. For me, from what I've seen and the perception I've got growing up as a sports fan, as a guy that watches a lot of different sports over my time, is that if there's one thing I've noticed is that we don't like winners very much, unless they're British. Unless it's a British thing, we don't like winners very much. Now, I know I'm stereotyping here to a degree, and I know I'm being quite typecast in saying this, but this is just from my experience, that F1 is a big market. As my phone goes off there. Thanks, Tom. But it's a situation where I take it from Schumacher's days. I started watching F1 in about '99. Schumacher started winning, and that was cool because everybody seemed to like Schumacher in the red Ferrari, etc. But I think by the time it got to 2004 and 2005, when he got to the end of his dominant run, fans were starting to turn on him. In fact, people were starting to hope, can we have somebody else win? It's going to be the same guy. It's going to be Schumacher winning all the time. My dad used to say that, and he was a big Schumacher fan in his own right. Yeah, and Schumacher fans were saying this. And if Schumacher fans are saying this, then, I've seen it happen in other sports, like people were getting bored of Marc Marquez winning last year in MotoGP because he won 13 rounds that season too. And, they want to see somebody else win. I've seen it in other sports like snooker, where people get tired of Ronnie O'Sullivan. People that don't like him, they want to see somebody else beat him. Phil Taylor, darts. I can go on and on and on. There's this, I don't think we like it when the same person wins all the time. I think we like seeing it go round. I think that's what Bernie Ecclestone's always said about Formula 1. He's actually got a valid point in that regard, where he says he'd like to see it go round a bit, because it makes it more interesting. And then like I said before, in F1 we were lucky to have a period between 2006 and 2010 where we had 5 different world champions: Alonso, Raikkonen, Hamilton, Button, Vettel. The last time that happened was 1982. Was the last time we had 5 different world champions in 5 different years. So, yeah, it's a situation where maybe we've been a little bit spoilt as fans, especially given that F1 is a sport where it's so easy to have a guy dominate, or a guy dominate a season, or just, run away with it, like we've had the last 2 years of Mercedes in general. We've been a little bit lucky to have at least Rosberg be semi-competitive in that time, but I think because Vettel was this person that was always winning all the time, I think people were looking for a reason not to like him, and I think people were being a bit more, cynical, rather than giving him the benefit of the doubt, like I think we're seeing now at Ferrari, where he's being a bit of a joker, where he is cracking more jokes and trying to be more entertaining, when I don't think the person that Vettel's been has really changed in Formula 1 that much. I think it's more down to people's perceptions and how they're looking at him in a different light now. He's not winning all the time. Again, it could be down to 2014, and the humbling that he got from Daniel Ricciardo could easily be a reason for that too. Maybe now that he's not winning anymore, people are looking at him in a different way. Could come to that too. if you've got a theory on this, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it, because I think it's a very interesting topic, and, you know, the perception of winning, and does it damage people's likability factor if they're just that good. Little things like that. I think it's interesting. But check back next week. There's an episode about Susie Wolf and her retirement and her impact for women in motorsport. I'm doing that with Ryan King, so look forward to that one. But in the meantime, if you've got any comments, things like that, leave them down below and I'll answer them. And until next time, I've been Harrison. I want to thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.